Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel here. I know it's been a minute since I've been on. Kind of just been busy, but trying to get back into the swing of things, just some video ideas, and try to iron out a more like consistent kind of weekly schedule for numbers of uploads and stuff. But yeah, we're back here, and as you can tell from the title and everything, what's up here? We're gonna be talking about Halo, this video, which is not a thing a lot of people are discussing these days, and it's for good reasons. Kind of why, as you can see the title of this video, why I'm bringing it up. It's because I just kind of want to do my thoughts on where I think kind of the current state of Halo is, and if I think it's dead, or kind of what I think is going on actually with Halo as a whole here. Just because, again, a lot of people haven't been talking about this, and that's not for bias towards one of the other big three FPS games or anything. It's because the game hasn't been in a great spot for a while now. Really the last I struggle to call it good spot it's been in, honestly, is like release of Halo Infinite. But obviously that was fairly short lived, at least compared to what it was supposed to be. And it's really just not. It's not been great, especially since kind of, elephant in the room since 343, these guys up here, my webcam might be blocking this, but 343 Industries is the first like two words or whatever. Since these guys have taken over, it's mostly been rough sledding. And obviously, if you're keeping up at all with Halo news or just in the sphere at all, they've kind of shifted gears as far as the studios go of who makes Halo. There's now just Halo Studios, which is kind of 343 still, just kind of rebranded essentially from what it seems like. It doesn't seem to make a huge difference, and they are doing some stuff like with different engines using Unreal Engine 5, which we'll get to, but it seems like it's the same guys. And yeah, it's just Halo obviously hasn't been in a great spot since they've taken over, and it's been a long time since they've taken over. It doesn't feel like it, but well, some ways it does, some ways it doesn't. But either way, it's been a while since they've really been kind of of the on top of the kingdom here, and it's just been kind of sad to watch as someone, and me, I've always been an Xbox guy first and foremost. So for somebody like me who's always been a fan of the franchise, it's been kind of disheartening to say the least to see kind of decline. I did a video recently on the decline of COD, and I mean, if COD has a decline, especially where if it's at with BO6 now and everything, which has decent success and everything, Halo honestly has had like more of a plummet. Honestly, it's been bad. It's been rough sledding for sure, and it's not great there. But yeah, regardless, it's something I want to talk about here, and kind of as you can see, I have a few articles here pulled up, from a few different sources. This is a timeline of the franchise just for reference, and I don't even know who these guys are honestly, but they wrote an article on this. Shout out, Ken Kanishka. Okay. But regardless, I just kind of wanted to discuss things here and kind of what I thought about it and if it is dying or not, or if it is actually declining. Which, as you've seen, no spoiler, no spoiler here, but it is declining. It has been, essentially one foot, if not both foot, in both feet in the grave for a while here, and it's kind of sad to watch. But yeah, I guess I don't even know where to start exactly. I guess we can have this pulled up here, but I kind of just wanted to talk about kind of what caused us to get here first, like why I think Halo's been on decline, why I think it's dead or dying, anyways, there's on life support, whatever term you want to use. And again, I don't want to, keep beating on the dead corpse here, but P43 isn't exactly the good guys of this story here. Ever since they've taken over from Bungie, when it comes, in respect to the Halo series, obviously, it's just been a decline. You know, I'd say pretty steep. It started out a little less, but it's pretty steep at this point. If you go back to the Halo franchise here, Evolve 2, 3 Wars, 3 ODST, Halo Reach, the Anniversary Edition for what that's worth. All of those were Bungie. You get to the 343 saga here with Halo 4, their first crack at, Halo. And for what it's worth, I wanted to start here not just because of chronological reasons, but also because this is, in my opinion, other than if you count the like Master Chief Collection as 343s, which is a bit of a stretch. This is 343's probably best, at bat when it comes to Halo. It's obviously had that big shoes to fill, which they've failed to do pretty spectacular here. But this Halo 4 is probably their best at bat. They came up there, they didn't knock it out of the park, but they hit a grounder and he got the first base. Essentially is what it was. It wasn't a god awful game. It's far from the worst thing they've put out, as we'll get to at the number 5 there. But it's that's we'll talk about that in a second. But it's far from the worst Halo they put out. It's not terrible. It was okay. It was a letdown compared to something like Reach, which is the last like full-on game they actually released. Which in my opinion, that was the best in the series. So it was hard to live up to that, regardless. This wasn't like a bad game. It was a step down from what people had really experienced, but it was a step down from arguably some of the most impactful and best FPS games of all time in Reach. Halo 3, Halo 2, even ODST was really good. So yeah, it's kind of hard to live up to that, but I think it was a good at bet. It's they did a good job. They got the first base, but then we'll skip this. But again, Master Chief Collection was under their tutelage, but again, a lot of the games, as you can see here, that are actually in this, other than Halo 4, of the games that were released in Master Chief Collection, only one was made by 343. So take that for what you will. But yeah, here's what I wanted to talk about. 343's second like mainstream official Halo release in Halo 5 Guardians. And I mean, I could spend an entire hour long video just tearing this to shreds on Halo 5 was tragic. I mean, this you talk about a decline a little from Halo 4, but this was like, Halo was like this right at Reach. It started going down a little like this with 4, but nothing like crazy. And then 5, in my opinion, just cut that right. It's like a stock chart where it's just going down and there's no good news. Halo 5 was trash. I mean, it was tragic. It was trash. Whatever T word you want to use there. It just wasn't a great game. Halo 5. I'm trying to think of positive things to say about it other than it's Halo, I guess, if you're a big fan of the series and that's like the main reason you had Xbox and everything, but it just wasn't good. They kind of reinvented the combat system. 343 Industries as a whole have kind of done that, honestly, but in most of their games, or in all of them. But Halo 5, the combat system was trash. The campaign. You talk about a campaign, the narrative, the story writing. I mean, it's just the campaign was by far. I think it still is the worst in the series. The story writing was horrible. The story itself was horrible. The mechanics, both of the combat system and the multiplayer and the campaign were bad, and multiple steps back from what we've seen in, far older games in the Halo franchise. Um, in this game, you started to see a lot of kind of microtransactions make their way into it as well. And people have their thoughts about microtransactions, especially if they're not, game breaking or pay to win. But for me, I've never been a huge fan of adding microtransactions in the game, or at least pushing it very hard, which Halo 5 didn't, oblige to at all. They really pushed in. There was a lot of microtransactions and cosmetics and stuff for you to buy, which I was never a fan of. It clutters up the user interface. It feels oily salesman, gives oily salesman vibes. It pushes me to spend money on a game I already bought, in most cases. It's just I don't like it. It had that. It had a revamped, overhauled system that wasn't good. It's just Halo 5 was really the start of a lot of their problems. Uh, some people say Halo 4 wasn't a great start either to them, but Halo 5 and Halo 4, it's night and day. Honestly, it's just kind of. I mean, it's a real shame that this game had to even happen. Honestly, Halo Wars 2. I know I'm not an official, inline Halo game there, but again, another thing that was rocky at best, honestly. Um, Honestly, I had no idea about this game, but that kind of looks okay and cool. But I don't know. This seems like more of a gimmick. Now we get to the latest attempt from 343 in Halo Infinite here. Halo Infinite, what a What a tragic game. I mentioned that the last time Halo's really been in a good bright spot here is the launch and release of Halo Infinite. Obviously, had a bit of an untraditional release with the split campaign and multiplayer, the free multiplayer, the paid campaign, which, again, Halo more than any of the other major FPS series was always a game that was cherished for its campaign and single player mode, or you can play co-op, of course, but regardless, it's always been kind of cherished for that. So that's why they could get away with trying that even. But I wasn't a huge fan of that personally. It's kind of weird to me. But regardless, Halo Infinite right off the bat was good. You know, where they had hit a pretty pathetic ball that was okay of Halo 4. They essentially got up the bat with Halo 5 with a little confidence, tried to fucking knock it out of the park, let go of the bat, murdered a family of four, mother, father, two sons or whatever, in the stand with the bat. That's essentially what Halo 5 was. And Halo Infinite was coming off the curtails of that. And it delivered more than expected for sure. People did not have any high hopes for this game whatsoever. With the kind of bad publicity with the trailers, what had preceded it as far as a mainline Halo game, it wasn't looking good, and it defied a lot of people's expectations. It played okay. It was fun. It was people hadn't played a good Halo game in a long time, or a decent Halo game even. The campaign was very different with the open world kind of like more traditional RPG feel to it than a linear story game. It was, kind of divisive, obviously, and it was kind of rocky, but it was something new to experience at least. The graphics looked good, which Halo is really the only big improvement they've ever made to this game is like increasing graphics or realism, which is either an improvement or not, depending on how you like your games, I guess. But regardless, I'm not a huge fan of them honing in on that too much. That's the expense of trying other things, but Halo Infinite was good. The only negative thing I could really say about this game, for the first, bit it was out there was again, I'm not a fan of microtransactions in games, even if it's cosmetic shit, especially for a game that you maybe paid for. Again, with Halo Infinite, it's a little different because it's free to play on multiplayer, but still, I'm not a huge fan of the free to play model in a lot of cases either because of that very reason. But I'm not a huge fan of microtransactions. But the main issue with Halo was kind of the main issue that like Apex Legends had faced, but it was even more crippling for a game like Halo, which is already kind of on the ropes here. It was just, a trickle feed of content was, is putting it too, is fast forwarding it too much. It's trickle feed doesn't even do it justice to how slow the content was coming out for this game. Whether that's, you know, essentially stuff that should have been in the game from the release, like the Forge mode, or if it's stuff like adding new maps, adding new game modes, adding new weapons and stuff like that, all that should have been in the game at the start. If you go back and play Halo Infinite as we speak, it's been a little better, but it's way too little, way too late type of situation here, and it's sad to see because Halo Infinite again had some potential, had some hype. People were liking the multiplayer at any rate right off the bat. It's free to play. Why not pick it up? It had a lot of users, but the microtransactions that Halo 5 really brought into the forefront and kind of is tainting this franchise with, as well as the just trickle feed of content, just like trickle feeding of content way too slowly to the game. Stale, it was moldy. Like, imagine a piece of bread. It wasn't just moldy. It had consumed the bread. It was just mold at that point. They had waited way too long to do much with it. It's kind of, again, it's very similar to Apex Legends in that regard, but Apex didn't do quite as badly and it recovered a lot better. Halo Infinite these days is essentially dead. If you play Halo, just play the Master Chief Collection at this point, is my advice if you want to play Halo these days. It's a real shame what Halo Infinite kind of turned out to be, and that kind of brings us up to today where Halo Infinite is the last game released. They have rumored, as you go over here, they have rumored stuff, with a new Halo on the way. Hasn't have much information as of yet, of course. So it seems like it's actually still a few years down the road. But yeah, it's we're currently in the Halo Infinite era, and it is not a great era to be in. I think it's got 2 feet in the grave. I think they might even be laying down with the guys with the dirt in their shovels ready to pour it over them again. It's a bad spot for Halo. I kind of wanted to talk about the history of 343 just to kind of bring you up to speed as far as where I think it is and why, what happened and why. Again, the changing the game mechanics, the microtransactions, the piss poor storytelling and world building and everything that the recent campaigns have brought, the poor multiplayer and the overhaul of the systems that Halo has always had from the Bungie series of games, of course. And it's just they tried to do way too much. They tried to add stuff that some was just a bad idea, some was innovative and it was bad. It's not been great sailing. They haven't supported the games very well whatsoever with new content. It's been a bad road, and Halo, in my opinion, is in its grave right now. And this next game, really, just in my opinion, it depends. This is the difference between them getting officially buried, or them him ringing the bell on in his coffin and saying that he's alive. That's kind of what it comes down to. It's high stakes. It sucks for a franchise like this, but that's the reality of the situation. Obviously, with the new Halo game here, you got Halo Studios. It's not really 343 anymore. It's a rebranding, but there seems to be some differences. It's like it seems like it's 343 with a rebrand, but there's some new people and some changes. They're using Unreal Engine 5 now for the game engine. It would seem. Uh, I haven't really read this article in depth, but regardless, it hasn't had a lot of details about gameplay and stuff. One thing that does concern me is they seem to be focusing way too much on this whole graphics idea. Again, I'm not a huge graphics person. As long as it's passable and playable to me, I am more than fine to play it, and I can run it on my computer. I don't need, like, is this real life? I don't need that level of graphics. That's not what makes or breaks a game by any means for me. It's just a nice to have if you have, the budget and the time to do it, but they seem to be focusing really on like oh, look at these cool new mechanics we can put in, look at this fresh graphics overhaul that can really take this game to the next level. It's like nobody wants to see that. We want to see a good game with better combat mechanics, a better story, and less microtransactions. And that doesn't seem like the direction they're trending in right now. They're spending a good amount of time with just the engine and graphics, of course, and it doesn't bode well for the future. The game, it needs to go back to the original combat system for multiplayer and story modes. It needs to cut out a lot of the microtransactions. Whether they're pay to win or not, I don't care. Obviously, never put in pay to win stuff, but even the like store page and cosmetic stuff, it really just sell the game for a price and then let that happen on its own. Don't put in a full microtransaction store and shove it down my throat type of thing. Yeah, but regardless, it's just I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it personally speaking. It's a real fucking shame uh, what they've been doing with that. And I mean, the graphics are cool and all, but again, don't honestly, I kind of like the more grungy look on the old Halos. You want a campaign, lastly here, you want a campaign that is revitalized, Stop trying to, reinvent the wheel as far as how you display the campaign. We don't need this open world or anything. Tell a story in a linear sense of missions I play. It's a tried and true formula that everybody loves, and just tell a good story. Which for Halo, with 5 and the fucking TV series and the Infinite, the fiascos those have all been. It's can they even do that anymore? So yeah, Halo's not in a great spot. The future doesn't look incredibly bright. I mean, I don't even want to say this is a good bright spot because there's been information that Halo is going to be available on PlayStation soon or in the future, which to me is shocking. I never thought we'd see a day where the kind of flagship console seller, big title like Xbox exclusive or Xbox and PC exclusive these days would ever come to PlayStation consoles. Um, which again, it's kind of a give or take here. Again, it's more players, it's getting more options to play. Overall, zooming out, it's a good thing, but it's just shocking to see from Xbox to allow that. But they seem to be pivoting towards a more just sheer amount of users and numbers than rather try to compete with a console of Sony at this point. But yeah, that's surprising to see as well, which maybe revitalizes it, maybe doesn't. Get some new eyes on the franchise regardless. I mean, again, it might set a bigger stage for them. But at the end of the day, this game depend. I mean, it all lies on the shoulder of this game, whether they fail or succeed here, they get buried or they don't. It's all reliant on this game, and you're just setting a bigger stage here for your success or failure. So I think that's what that is personally. But yeah, that kind of just sums up what I think about Halo these days, and kind of what I think the future holds. I'm not in exactly giving it a glass half full. I'm approaching this more at a glass half empty type of view. It doesn't look great. I've honestly lost all faith and trust in 343 Industries or Halo Industries these days. It's just I don't really have a lot of faith here, which I guess is good because they don't have to do much to get my attention or to prove me wrong, I guess. But setting the bar low, but it's just they've done nothing but really aside from Halo 4 disappoint me. It's not great. I really hope I'm eating my words here soon, but I just don't see it honestly. I think Halo as a franchise is kind of as dead as you can get without being officially done and buried and forgotten about. It's it's right on the brink there, and it's basically dead. Especially, I mean, if you look at users by just games played right now, it is dead honestly. But it's sad to see. I really hope this game turns out better, but I just don't have a lot of faith. And yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on the Halo industry or Halo series as a whole, and my thoughts on 343 Industries. Yeah, love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below, and kind of what you guys are thinking about this new Halo or Halo as a whole here. If you enjoyed my content and the video here, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and like. It really helps out the channel, as does your view, which I appreciate a lot. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.